Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 10-Minute Book Talk, where three best-selling authors get together each and every week to share bookish things with you for 10 short, sweet minutes. This past fall, I got to meet Rowan Beaird, our guest today, at a book event in Chicago, and just loved her and her story. And I am so excited to welcome her today and to share her book, The Divorcees, with you. Welcome, Rowan. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a joy to be with you all today.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so The Divorcees, it's set in 1951, and it's about this sheltered young woman named Lois Saunders who travels to one of Reno's famous divorce ranches to separate from her husband. And while there, she becomes obsessed with this mysterious, glamorous fellow guest named Greer, who both offers Lois a new life and a new way of living, but also threatens the freedom that she really craves.
Mm,
Ooh, what a
I feel
good
the
elevator
tension
pitch.
already.
Well
Ooh,
done.
very pithy, very
Thank you.
pithy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done, you.
Short and
Okay,
sweet. Yeah.
so
Sweet.
you had me at Divorce Ranch. This is not a thing I was aware of. And so Catherine was the one that read it, and she was telling us, because we kind of take turns, whoever is interviewing reads the book. And so she was telling us, and I was like, I'm sorry, Reno, Nevada divorce ranches? Tell me more. So can you tell me, how in the world did you stumble upon this concept, and what made you go, this needs to be a book?
Yeah. So hilariously enough, I came up with this idea back in 2018 when I was in Las Vegas for my bachelorette weekend. Yeah, my husband loves that I was thinking so deeply about divorce on the cusp of marrying him. But the reason for that is that I went to this place called the Neon Museum. Have y'all ever been there?
No.
So if you're ever in Las Vegas, definitely go. It's basically this graveyard of old Las Vegas neon signs on the outskirts of the city. And it's really beautiful, really unusual. And we had this great tour guide who was talking about the history of the city. And she was talking a little bit about her own troubled love life. And she said at some point, well, everybody knows you get married in Las Vegas and you get divorced in Reno. And I raised my hand because I was like, well, I mean, everybody knows that
Nobody
about Las
knows this.
Vegas. Yeah, but nobody knows that about Reno. Like, what are you talking about? And so she gave us a really brief history lesson, which is that in 1931, to help recover from the Great Depression, Nevada made two really important decisions. So they legalized gambling and they changed the state's divorce residency requirement so that if you moved there and stayed for only 6 weeks, you could separate from your spouse for pretty much whatever reason. And this was, as you can imagine, pretty wildly different than everywhere else in the country at the time. So I always use New York as an example. They really only let you separate if your spouse had committed adultery. You needed proof of that adultery. You had to wait a year. Even then, the judge still often denied your claim. So as a result, Reno, because it was already this big tourist destination, became quote unquote the divorce capital of the world. And I immediately just became obsessed with the idea. And I loved, she mentioned specifically the existence of divorce ranches, which really catered, which, if you read the book, to the wealthy and to the famous. And I just loved the idea of all of these women at a real crisis point in their life, all being under one roof, and the sort of dramatic potential that that had.
So
Mhm.
much drama. So
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Although I will say I am of the group, I did know about Reno divorce
Yeah.
ranches, and I knew about them because in I don't know what year that movie was made, but there was a movie and Rosalind Russell was in it. I think it's her best performance ever, called The Women. Everybody wanted to be in that movie. However, the divorce ranch is kind of comic relief for all
Yes.
of if you haven't seen that movie, y'all should see it, especially, but first you need to read Rowan's book. But so I am really curious, like, how did you go about, you had a conversation with a lady in a museum, but
Mhm.
like, then what was the next step in your research, and what was one of the most fascinating things that you discovered while doing it?
Yeah. Well, I love that you bring up the women because it's so funny. That was a book that I'd watched, I think, when I was a child or as a teenager, and I had just totally separated it from the concept of Divorce Ranch. And I rewatched it when I was doing my research, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the whole plot of this. Someone's going to Reno to separate. And it's funny because actually, when I was doing my research, that was such a point of inspiration that I originally didn't want any male characters in the divorcees, which is a hallmark of the women, is that no men
Right.
appear on screen.
Yeah, none.
None. But then I realized I was like, ugh, I kind of need a few men, unfortunately, to move this plot along. So they pop up every once in a while. But the pieces that were really critical to my research, the University of Nevada created something called the Reno Divorce History Project, which is this amazing online archive of photographs. They have a lot of newspaper articles, magazine articles from that time period of journalists reporting on the divorce trade. And something they had that was fascinating was, as you can imagine, given the time period, a lot of women that traveled to Reno are no longer with us. But they interviewed a lot of women that did travel to Reno. And so there's this history, this record of women sharing their firsthand experiences of what it was like. And they also interviewed some of the children, because often women would travel with their children to Reno if they didn't have anybody that could look after them. And it was so fascinating to read those accounts as well, because the children, they just thought it was like summer camp. They were like, we got to go to Reno. We were in the desert for 6 weeks. We were riding horses. We were kind of left to be on our own. And only after the 6 weeks was up did they really realize like what was happening and sort of the transformation of their families. So that was so fascinating. The other book that I'll shout out is this incredible memoir called The Divorce Seekers, which was written by this ranch hand, Bill McGee. He co-wrote it with his wife, Sandra. And he was a ranch hand at one of the most famous divorce ranches at the time, the Flying Emmy. And so he just has these incredible accounts of what life was like, everything from, what the cook would serve every evening for dinner to the casinos that they'd go to. He took amazing photographs. So I would say those two things really helped bring that period alive for me and were so critical to my research and writing.
Yeah, because you really did create an
So
immersive experience. Yeah,
Oh,
that is
good.
so
I'm
great.
so glad.
Well, I want to know, because everybody, The Divorcees is available now to read, but I want to know what's next for you, Rowan, because I'm really excited to hear about that.
Oh, thanks. Yes, I'm in that like totally blissful state, which you all will relate to, where I just turned in an edited draft of a manuscript to my editor.
So now you've got like
so
a free calendar for a few weeks before it comes back to you.
I know. What am I going to do?
Your brain back.
No, you're probably
clean
going to have lunch with
closets,
all the
because that's
people
what we do.
you're going to have lunch with all the people that you've been ignoring for
Yes.
like months and
As I
beg
was
their
saying,
forgiveness.
and the closets that need cleaning.
Yes, I know.
We
I'm
do.
looking around my home. Yeah. Take down the Christmas tree. Yes, all these important things. But this new book, it's actually set in the 1970s, and it's kind of a funny, unintentional companion piece to The Divorcees because it's set over the course of a wedding weekend. And it's told from the point of view of the bride's brother and her college friend. And the bride in this novel has recently got out of a cult that actually existed in the 70s called Synanon. And the two sort of narrators are trying to figure out why she got involved with this cult and if she's really left over the course of the weekend. So, yeah, it's a cult novel.
Brain comes up with these things, bro. And this is amazing. I feel like I gotta up my game on the.
I know. I was about to say we have to get more complex.
No. It's just those things that I'm fascinated by that I go down internet rabbit holes at 2 a.m. I'm like, what productive things could I do with this? Maybe write a novel.
I love it. Well, it sounds amazing. But before you leave us, I have one last question that we ask every author, and that is, Rowan Beaird, what is bringing you joy today?
I love that you all asked this question. So, well, I will say every day my 2-year-old Willa brings me joy, but specifically today, again, as writers, you all will understand this. I ordered myself a fancy new notebook.
I love notebooks.
So it's this brand called, I might not be pronouncing this correctly, Karst, Karst. Karst, if you're listening, sponsor me. I will do whatever you say.
I am writing it. Yeah, no, writing it down.
Writing it down.
The notebook paper, I got it as a gift at one point, my previous Karst notebooks, and it's paper made out of stone, which you would never guess stealing it. I mean, it feels like normal paper, except that it's incredibly smooth, so it feels so good to write on it. And after I was gifted it, I looked up how much it cost, and I was like, I'm never buying myself this. But after I turned in the manuscript yesterday, I was like, I'm buying a Karst notebook.
I deserve a
For
treat.
you.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. So
I do all my research in notebooks, so I may not be able to buy a Karst notebook, but I'm so excited about this.
yes, they're so great. Yes, pro Karst.
Oh, that's
Okay,
so
that's
fun. You
joy
are the
for
first author
everybody.
to ever tell us that a notebook made of stone is bringing you joy. That's
But I'm
adorable.
kind of wondering why she's the first. I mean, we all
Yeah.
are obsessed with paper. Like,
Because
why
So
are
true.
you the
because they are
first?
expensive notebooks
Yeah.
and writers subsist on cheese sandwiches.
So
So
true. So true. It's an indulgence,
Alrighty.
without a doubt.
Rowan, hold up your book again, because I got to tell you,
Yes.
it's one of my all-time favorite covers. I
Oh,
just think
thank you so
it's
much.
yeah.
lines, it's simplicity, it's sophistication, beautiful. So anyway,
Thank you so much.
thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here at the 10-minute book talk. We will be back next week with another author interview. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
guys.